Welcome to the Carriker Chronicles, the People Show. Check the post for Husker Nation. Brought to you by Nebraska Spine Hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, fine folks at home, I have a special guest with me today. I'm joined by former Husker linebacker Mo Barry. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
I want to thank you for joining me. So I see your stuff on social media and on Twitter sometimes, but what are you up to? What are you doing nowadays?
Right now, I'm a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, team Metro Pros headed by Mike Pettit. So right now I'm serving the Omaha, Lincoln community, helping buyers, sellers, investors in residential or commercial properties.
Okay, cool. Is that something you're looking to do long term, or what's that outlook for you?
Yeah, I mean, I love, serving people. I love this industry or this business because it's a people's business, it's a social business. All about understanding people and making relationships, and that's why I say for myself, it's not a transaction, it's a relationship for life with my clients, for everyone I work with in the business. So yeah, this is something I want to do forever, even if I get a shot or not in the NFL. But this is something I had, passion and interest for. I would say sophomore year in college, and my mother liked it for me, and after this off season, took it as a career.
All right, let's talk a little Husker football, shall we? So
It's a lot.
Yeah, so what did you see from the Huskers defense this past year? They showed some improvement. They're going to have 9 returning starters. A lot of guys chose to come back this year with the extra potential COVID year, and guys, just choosing to stay. What did you see from the defense? What are your thoughts on the Huskers defense?
This year has been an odd year, and it has worked against and for a lot of teams. I would say, first you don't have the fans and the emotion, and defense. Playing defense is such an emotional side of the ball that I think it could hurt players or actually help them, because some players they don't want the attention, the fans there. They do better in practice than when they come to game time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of stuff that happened this year that I can't fairly assess it, and I know you have good games versus Iowa. It's like, oh yeah, and then you got games against Penn State. Even though we held on to the end, it was 500, and then you talk about Illinois, and it was like, but then you talk about the latter part of the season, it's like yes. So honestly, the Big Ten in general has been so inconsistent that I can't judge. I don't think a lot of people could judge any team and be like, I think the late start really hindered a lot of teams, and I think our team just having the veterans back is most definitely a positive. But I think with everyone, does it really help the future of the defense? You do want those young guys to play and not feel like they have to transfer, And with the portal and people not being willing to sit for years and years and years, that becomes a problem. And so it's a lot of things to digest when you talk about the defense and the pros and cons and everything of, having these guys stay and what the long-term effects are, but what the short-term positives are as well. I don't know. I think it's overall been improvement from the years before. But then again, we don't have a lot of games to go from. We don't have. It's hard to scale it compared to other years.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a couple things I want to chat about real quick. You talk about players who were great in practice and they kind of disappear on Saturdays. I immediately had 3 names that popped into my head, and I'd love to share them with the fans, but I don't want to throw those guys under the bus. They would be great, like All-Americans in practice, and on Saturday, be like, where'd you frickin' go? So I can completely relate to that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So talk to me, and as we're recording this, and this could go up Wednesday or Thursday, we're not sure just yet for this interview, but as we're recording this literally like 30 minutes ago, Luke McCaffrey, Will Faranoak, and Cade Warner are all entering the transfer portal. So talk to me, and you make an interesting point. about some of the older guys on defense staying, how does that affect the young guys? I do think Scott Frost is starting to feel a little bit of heat, and rightfully so, that he's got to win now, so I think that factors into it. But why do you think guys on defense are tending to stay with the Huskers and guys on offense seem to be going? Why do you think that is?
You know, that's a scary conversation to have, because it's almost like you, as a football player, I know, Adam, you played at the highest level, and tremendous respect for you and your career. You already could speculate the reasons why. And then as a fan, not being there in that inner circle and understanding as a football player, you can't not be in the circle and judge the circle, right?
Yeah.
Make those falsy accusations that fans so many times just do. So it's hard. It's hard because I'm competing with football player Mo and fan Mo, and it's like you don't know. I mean, I would say this for fans. I would say most football players understand when they're not ready to play the game in the highest level. It's almost like I remember being a young guy and, you know, a freshman. I was like, yeah, I could play this game. I could play, you know, again, I could play on Saturdays, right? And then I remember, again, thrown out there about Trent Bray versus Wyoming, and I remember we destroyed, what's that quarterback who played for the Bills?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. You know, Nate Gary did the whole famous,
yep.
you know.
Yep. The ball throwing handoff incident, yep.
I love that. Yeah, I remember
I did too.
Going out there, and I was like, yeah, I thought I could do it. And then I was like, oh, my God, this game is still moving so fast. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting my butt kicked right now, you know? And I think, you know, for the most, even being in the Husker program and seeing the kids know when they're not ready to play, you know? The biggest thing is transparency. That's where kids feel like they're either their coach is against them, their teammates are against them. It's when it's this gray matter in the air where either they feel that they're lied to, either promised things that they don't get, or emotionally that they're abandoned, or there's a lot of factors there, right? I think it comes to transparency. One thing that Trent Bray did so well, and the reason why I stayed, you know, despite all the turmoil and stuff with the program, is he was so transparent that you couldn't hate him, you know? You couldn't hate him because it was never gray matter. And I knew to myself that I was not ready, and he told me exactly why I wasn't ready, and he told the room anyone messed up on a particular play, or it was no favoritism. It was full-on transparency at all times. And no matter if he liked you as a person or didn't like you, it was always like that. So with the offense, hearing, I think maybe it's the lack of that, of full transparency. Maybe they feel abandoned emotionally, some guys, or whatnot. I mean, the thing is, I know some coaches are scared to be transparent because it's like, okay, if I be blunt to the kid, he's going to leave. But sometimes it's like, hey, if he can't handle transparency, then it's like he don't deserve to be in this program. But don't lose out on a kid just because now he's seeing you as not being a transparent or a trustworthy coach, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about that.
No, I think you're completely right. I've always said I just want a coach to be who he is, because people are like, well, what kind of coach did you like best? And I had coaches who were yellers and screamers, and they'd get in your face, and, you know, you could freaking smell and half times taste what they just had for breakfast because they're, you know, breasts all over you and whatnot. And I've had coaches that were like teachers. They were quiet. You could barely hear them talk. But I'll never forget, it happened two different places, right? Once in Nebraska, once with the Washington football team. And I had a good day, I had a good practice. I took on these double teams, and the coach is just ripping into me like a monkey on a cupcake. And I'm looking around like, I don't know what the hell more you want. And then the next week, I get driven back like 5-6 yards, and he's like, good job, Adam. I'm like, what? And it became so clear to me. And with the Redskins, Philip Daniels had been in the league 15 years. And I'm just staring at him like, I don't get this. And he goes, dude, It was predetermined. They predetermined they were going to yell at you last week, and they predetermined, in his words, he goes, no matter how bad you sucked, they were going to say good job, and I hated that. Hey, just be honest. If I sucked, I sucked. If I did great, tell me I did great. So I'm with you on that. But I've never forgotten that because I was just blown away. But so talk to me, because you played a couple years under Frost, obviously. You were there the first year he was there. Obviously, there was some expectations going into year two. Things were a little bit different. But talk to me about this word culture, because it's been talked about a lot. Some fans are like, we got to change the culture. Some fans are tired of hearing about it. Talk to me about culture, how important that was to Scott, and the things they were trying to do to get that culture changed, because that is something he's talked about a lot.
Yeah, I mean, culture is what the program is what you believe in, is how you move, is how a collective group of people, they're being. It's again, their mindset, it's their actions. And that's the biggest thing. We talk about culture, but we talk about the past. The biggest thing is you can't be the past. You learn from the past and you create a new future in the present. So it's almost like we're trying to be something that the greats of this program, that's what they were, because it worked for that time, and they created something at that time that was unstoppable, right?
Yep.
And what worked for that time doesn't work today. The game has changed. The play calling, the mental of the game in general has changed, and then our society as a whole has changed extremely, and then the society in Nebraska, in Omaha, and Lincoln has changed extremely as well. So you can't, I love the fans, and I love them that they, keep on, looking up to the guys of the past, because they deserve that. Yes, they do. You honor them every time. You honor guys like you every time you can, but do not say that that's how they need to play now. It's certain things, toughness, hard hitting, effort, and stuff like that. That is a non-negotiable period, no matter what time. That's intergenerational. But when you talk about just a culture of what they need to believe in, how they need to talk and walk and everything like that, we just got to figure, or how we need to recruit and things like that. We got to figure out what works for Nebraska in 2021, not what worked in 96 before I was even born. 95 before I was born, 96 when I was born. So we just got to figure out, it's a different type of, a body of players. So we just got to focus on now. And I think when we look at, what should everyone be like when they walk in the building? How should they practice like? What should be the conversations happening? It's just figuring that out, and whoever is not with that type of thinking has to be excluded. I think that's when it goes down. I think Coach Frost, his first year when he came in, he did a great job, him and Duval, of weeding out the people or making them outcasts because they didn't think a particular way. I think what happens is when pressure, and this is why fan pressure is not good, starts being applied too much, and you're almost stuck with, okay, this player is not good for the culture, but he's good for the field. He's a baller, but he's not good for the culture.
Yeah.
But guess what? The players want to see that baller play on Saturday. They don't give one, about the culture at that instant. So I think that's when it started being choosing between the player and the culture. What's good for the culture, or what's good for, just having a product out there that can perform. So, I don't know what to say about, or I don't even think I'm qualified to say what we need to do, but it's just the culture can't be the past. It has to be the present and the future.
I appreciate that, man. Those are some great thoughts. A guy who played for Scott Frost for a couple of years. I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, Husker Nation, go Big Red. And always remember,
go the Bones.
Thanks again to our sponsor, Nebraska Spine Hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, when it's your spine, you do not want to mess around, and experience matters. That's why you can trust the experts at Nebraska Spine Hospital, the region's only spine-specific hospital. They are the best at what they do.